Now, structuring adaptations and transformations essays. So what you want to be able to do, this is not a very busy slide, guys. With introductions and conclusions, we need to be able to introduce both of the text and their focus with minimal background or biographical information unless it is relevant. We would like to have a clear thesis statement stating our interpretation, or a views and values statement about each text, or at least the original, can be useful, stating that there are similarities and differences, but you know, having kind of a statement about that, but trying not to discuss these in depth or become too specific, because that will lead to this reading as a summary. We have the rest of the body paragraphs to do so, so be very aware of that. Now, for the body paragraphs, it's most effective to talk about both the original and the adaptation in each paragraph, rather than, even though it's not required, rather than isolating them into separate paragraphs. Because this clearly brings in the ideas of differences and similarities, and makes for a more complex analysis with more freedom and switching between the text really smoothly, really showcasing your writing skill, but also improving your analysis overall. So include both the original and the adaptation in each body paragraph. You want to be able to spend enough time on one text before moving on to the next, and focus on one core point of similarity or difference per paragraph. Then link it back to the interpretation at the end. So, say we're talking about text A, which is our original. We'll talk about it for a while, introduce a couple pieces of evidence to say that it raises a similar point as text B, which is our adaptation. Then we'll say, however, text B is also different in some kind of way, and we'll discuss text B for a while now before we can come back to text A, for instance. So that's how you want to smoothly be able to do it. But there should be one core point of similarity or difference in a paragraph. I like to do a structure when I was doing this where I would have a similarity in there, which would lead into a nuanced difference, and then I would discuss that for the rest of the paragraph. And then my body paragraphs were quite long though, so it's a really good idea if you're not a someone who writes pretty long essays to focus on one core point of similarity or difference in one paragraph. Otherwise, you can try to do what I did. My feedback was that that structure was quite good. We know we're quite flexible in literature with the structures we want to adopt. A similarity leading into a difference is certainly a pretty good structure to follow. Um, and then your kind of last sentence or last couple of sentences can link back into the interpretation. They might bring up views and value statements, etc. But it is critical in this task, this is a key point, that you discuss how meaning changes due to changes in genre. For example, in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, any reference to the character's homosexuality were omitted due to 1950 censorship laws. How does this change the meaning of the text? So, for example, if there are deliberate changes, considering why these changes have been made, considering has the adaptation enhanced, complemented, or detracted from the original messages, views, and values of the text, what features have been enabled by a genre change, and what has been disabled. All of these kinds of questions, guys. So, with Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, considering why this idea of censorship laws, if we have an adaptation potentially of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof that's more modern than 1950s, it might have the references of homosexuality included in that adaptation intentionally to kind of bring back in what was only hinted at in the original text. And this may be to um, create some message to reinforce some of the messages around homosexuality, and bring it in as a key theme in an adaptation. And these are things we could discuss.